Hey guys, I'm gonna take you through a little bit of a tour. Not that anybody cares to watch a photo slide. Won't be really, well, kind of a photo slide. I'm just gonna scroll through some of my photos of some of the old equipment I've owned over the time. Some of it I never actually hooked up, I just got, and then I sold it shortly after, but yeah, either way. First thing I ended up getting, MTX Thunder 300 watt RMS amp. Pretty nice little setup. Pretty thick terminals for everything, you know. Pretty decent little amp for my first one. This is the sub I got matched with it. Sub and that amp I got from Future Shop. This actually right here, I only paid $50 from Future Shop when I worked there. It was on open box, and yeah, the manager said if I take it off the table right now, he'll give it to me for $50. So that's what I did. Nice sub. It's actually got the stitching around the edges and stuff like that. I never did have it out of the box and look at it, but had it in neon I had, and I sold the neon and the equipment beforehand of selling it, so pretty nice box though it was into. Here are two old school Kicker CVRs. The screw terminals. These were also had the sewing around the edges. These I never got hooked up into a car. I just got them used in some trade deal I did. These are some unknown name things that I found in the garage in one of the houses I lived in. I think they're underneath the seat of a truck or something like that. Either way, I hooked them up in my first car because I had no rear speakers and just kind of used them as rear speakers. They bumped pretty good though for what they were. This little junky thing is a Thump subwoofer put in a Bassworks box with a port on the top there. I never really did do anything with that either specifically. It was inside of a neon, but I never actually wired it up. There's some of my old decks. This one, JVC, KD, R620, USB. Had Bluetooth capability and stuff. Front auxiliary and stuff like that. I had this actually wired up in my 2010 Impala, but due to my foolish direct wiring at first without actually buying a $170 aftermarket adapter wiring harness, direct wiring into this thing, I ended up, when I unhooked it, somehow I fried something into this head unit. It still powers on, but it keeps saying check wiring, miswiring, check wiring, and reset unit, and then try again. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what happened there with that situation, because that's all it does. I mean, I still have this stereo sitting actually behind me somewhere in this pile of stereos that's on my floor, including the stock stereo for my 2010 Impala. But yeah, if anybody has a clue of what I might be able to do to fix that, because I've tried resetting this head unit several times to, you know, bring it back to life so I can actually use it again. I mean, I've since then bought that other JVC head unit, the KDR 88BT with Bluetooth and everything like that, I believe it is. But I'd really like to be able to use this one again because it's a really awesome head unit, and I mean, USB and everything worked really good. So if anybody's got an idea of what's going on, if there's a way to fix it myself or without getting too in-depth into it, just hit me up with a comment or something like that, because I'd love to be able to fix this head unit. Very nice head unit. There's another one of my old JVC units. This one actually still works. I don't think I have this one anymore. I think I gave it to a buddy actually. But yeah, it was a good head unit, just plain Jane, had an auxiliary, nothing too fancy, you know. I think it was only like, I think this one I only paid $6 to be honest with you for Future Shop, because it was an older model and they just wanted it off the shelf and they twisted my arm into it. $6 later I took home a KD R208 and yeah, I think it was on the regular for like $60 anyways. So there's an old Pioneer, look at that, DEH P26 2600. Yeah, nothing fancy. This one's just a CD player one. I don't think it had anything else special about it. This might be the one that had the auxiliary in the back, but I can't remember. Yeah, pretty plain Jane deck. I think I got this in some sort of a trade deal too or something. Here's another one. This is the DEH P3500. Again, nothing too fancy. Pretty basic head unit. Just a CD player. Yeah, nothing special. Here's a really old one. It is a DH15. Really old school head unit. I mean, look at this volume control thing. This I got in a trade. I bought an amp and a sub, and the guy just threw the stereo at me. It was like, here, I don't want this. So yeah, I ended up with this junky thing too, which I still have, and those other two Pioneers I have as well. This Kenwood I also still have, I believe, is sitting behind me as well. I think, I don't know, maybe I don't have a couple of those head units. I don't know. I know I took one of them apart either way, and I've got 3 sitting behind me that are aftermarket, and one's the Impala's head unit. This one has rear auxiliary, several other different little hookups. It's a KDC MP4028. Very nice Kenwood. Kenwood and JVC are pretty much hand in hand the same. You can use the wiring harnesses for each other, so I did test out this head unit for a little while. This is actually the Sony 2-channel amplifier I bought used. That's where I got that one head unit the guy threw at me along with the deal. I never really did wire this thing up either. I ended up selling it with a car, just mainly as a whole fact that I didn't want it laying around because I really had no use for it at that current time. Can't for the life of me remember what kind of watts it put out. Wasn't anything special or phenomenal. The crappy 500K capacitor I got from Walmart. I used that in one of my old setups for a little while. I don't use that anymore. That's actually the cap top right there that I used for a while as a voltmeter. It didn't really work so good, but either way it's kind of just junk now anyhow. I got a bigger, better capacitor anyhow. There's all of the decks all stacked along each other head at the one point in time in all their glory. Here's actually a Neon that I purchased. I actually got this car for $100 because the guy couldn't get it running, and yeah, I bought a battery for it, and pretty much 3 days later I had it running, and I drove past his house in it just for shits and giggles. It had this nice JVC, or not JVC, it's a Sony head unit in it. It's pretty plain Jane. It has an auxiliary port in it though, so that was kind of neat. I took the door panels apart on this, and these crappy factory speakers that were totally blown and just crackly. I took those out, and of course I didn't really like the Sony head unit, so I replaced it with a JVC. So you can tell I cleaned up the interior a whole bunch. Replaced the shifter knob with old Scully there. Replaced those door speakers with some Sony ones, that Sony two-way speakers that came with a head unit that I bought from a guy. didn't really care much for the head unit. I just basically wanted the speakers at the time for this car. Yet again, head unit. Oh, here's another head unit with stuff you're buying. Great, more junk to lay around. Love those deals. See, there's that thing there. There was all the wiring and everything. I was getting in preparation to possibly wire this up with that Sony amp. But in the end, I just decided I was going to sell the car with this stuff in it because, to be honest, I didn't really care about it. This is my old setup, my MA Audio 12s. That are this one's kind of crapping out on me on that side over there, as you can see. Well, you can't really see that it's crapping out, but I can hear that it's crapping out when I'm driving around. This is a Legacy Red Series 2 LA 2070 1200 x 2 channel 2400 on one. Pretty good amp all around. It did really good for what it was when I had it in there. Had there for the longest time. I left that bass knob thing right there. Eventually wired it up beside my seat, and then yeah, shortly after that I decided to go and take a dump on me, so that was great. Here's my big monster capacitor, 2 or 3 farad. Either way, it does the trick and keeps my power regulated. That's just another shot of it there. Hoping to get these replaced with MA Audio ones sometime soon. Of course, this now, you guys know for the most part, if you've watched the rest of the videos, in place here now is a Hyphonics Zeus. Hyphonics Zeus amplifier. And it is the ZRX 1200.1D monoblock Hyphonics car audio, power from the gods, as it says. Got their fancy little sticker up here. I haven't decided to stick it on my car yet, but I might do that at some point. I don't really know. There's the other side, and you can see my big ass fucking 3-inch ports or something like that. I should actually take a gander at measuring them for sure. But yeah, the box overall is pretty beefy and heavy. Awesome birthday cake my girlfriend made me. You know, subwoofers. She knows I really like car audio, so my birthday back in January, she made this, which was super awesome. Gotta love that. Box I built, or didn't build, it's from Roxbox HO. I bought it from a guy. There's a port going down the back there, it faces that way. I was gonna put my MAs in it. It didn't end up fitting into my car. So, yeah. That didn't happen. Sold that box, so, yeah. My good old JVC head unit that's in my car now. Really good head unit. It's got the little microphone there, USB, auxiliary, 4 different RCAs in the back and stuff. Really good head unit overall. I bought this Pioneer 800 watt maximum power monoblock amplifier. I was trying to wire my MA audios up to this. All I got was a whole bunch of humming, and there was a little bit of bass, but mostly just a lot of humming, so I don't know if it just wasn't giving them enough power, or I read that these crappy old Pioneer amps, like this is from like 2004, had a really bad habit of something going inside around the RCAs, and I heard you have to like somehow ground these RCAs, so I don't know if anybody knows much about that either, but if there's like a way to ground those and make use of this amp at some point in time, maybe I could figure out a way to ground that and then, you know, make it work for something or other or somebody else, you know. Because I only paid $20 for this amp, so you know, if I can find somebody who wants some little bit of bass, fix that up, and then send it on its way. Old rusty terminals. Oh, yep. Look at that. Big fuses. A 30 and a 30, so I got 60 in all. There's the back of the magnet of my MA Audio 800 watt max. Check out this head unit. Ain't that something? I think that's like a freaking, I don't know if that's just a tape deck or if that was an 8-track or what the hell that was actually. I think it was just a regular tape deck. In fact, I'm pretty sure it was now that I think about it, because I remember putting a tape thing in there and hooking my iPod up to it still. Good old bar down there that came with the car when I bought it. I never used it. Yeah, it was a Chevy Corsica. Long story short, the paneling on that side of the car did not match this side, so I don't know what happened there. But yeah, it was red over there and blue over here, and the rest of the cars are blue. Motor was awesome underneath the hood of this car. It was like in immaculate condition. I bottomed out on a dirt road and cracked the oil pan open, bled everything out, seized the motor. Fantastic time that was. I owned this amp at one point in time. This is the one that managed to cook a Pioneer Premier competition subwoofer. Yeah, it was rated something like 3500 peak RM or peak power, and I think I was maybe pushing 800,000 watts. This thing's an MRP M1000 monoblock. I don't know. It's probably pushing like somewhere between 800 to 1000 watts to it, because everything was like pretty well right up on this thing. And yeah, I caught that sucker on fire. Along with this amp, managed to wreck 2 Alpine 1023D Type R subwoofers, 1 in 3 days, warranty returned. Got another one, lasted about 4 months. So yeah, Alpine, not so good. Like subwoofer wise, I don't know, their amps are okay-ish, head units and stuff like that are alright, speakers, but not subwoofers, in my opinion. Neither are Pioneers, after my luck and habits of seeing what they can really dish out and handle, so not really a big fan of those anymore. This is a Mustang I had, boring automatic, obviously. Had a JVC head unit in there. I don't remember the model number of it, but yeah, of course, love the JVC, so had to have that. This is a Neon I had. Again, carried on my JVC over to this Neon. Very nice little car it was. I really enjoyed it. A nice head-on collision with this sucker and rode it off, so that was a sad story to a car that probably would have got several more kilometers out of it, because it was in pretty good shape. This I got in some sort of trade and swap deal one time for a laptop. It was a big old Clarion 1500 watt DPX 1500. Lots of different control settings on it: phase, X over frequency, min max level gain, several different little switch knobs, slave and input, source, high input, normal, frequency level, bass boost, subsonic. There was a spot for a remote, but I did not have a remote. There's like some little vents on the side. I don't know. Never did really end up doing anything with this amp either. Traded it in some other swap deal of some sort. I don't even know if it worked, because I never really got a chance to test it out and hook it up. Huge freaking terminals for this thing though, like huge. Like you could easily probably stick Zero gauge in there, I'm sure of it. And like the speaker terminals on this freaking thing were even huge. Like, this is like some hefty freaking amp. I'm pretty sad that it never really got put to use, but yeah. These are the subs I actually got with it. I don't know if anybody knows anything about USD audio, but yeah, that's what I got with that deal, and they're in this big sealed box. I'm pretty sure it had no ports in it anyways. They don't really seem like they're anything special. I don't think they really had much of a magnet or anything on them. Pretty thin coating around the edges and everything. Probably not made with the most high quality of materials, but hey, I don't really know anything about this brand. For all I know, that could have been a big brand back then, whenever these were manufactured. Here's my lovely, you can see the Alpine back there, the MRP 1000. There's the crappy Type R. The little ribbed coating around the edges, see that? For the sub, Type R. A box that I built. Obviously, I'm really crappy at building boxes, but this was relatively built to the specs. Cut my hole kind of off center, wasn't really sure what the hell I was doing. I cut everything with a jigsaw. Lesson learned. Yeah. If you're gonna build stuff, make sure you have the proper tools for the most part, I guess, and measure twice, cut once. I siliconed the crap out of this thing everywhere. I painted it to make it look a little bit prettier. My random odd assortment of wires I had when I wired this thing up in my Ford Focus. This here's my 2010 Impala. This was my JVC head unit that I was talking about earlier. The one I'd like to bring back to life. Really good head unit. So, like I said, anybody has any ideas, throw them at me. I'd love to bring that head unit back to life because that thing was awesome. It's my old Buick Regal, my first car. It had a JVC head unit in it as well. Of course, because I put it in there. It's a black fuzzy dice. Very nice car. Project car though, had a rebuilt small block 350 in it. Yeah. This is my Pontiac Tempest. I put my JVC head unit into. Very similar to the Corsica, just the Pontiac version of a Chev, more or less, slightly smaller motor, blah blah blah, junk like that. Automatic transmission, similar features. And then we're back to the start again, and I'm sure there's stuff that I missed somewhere in between there about other vehicles that I didn't really ever think to get a picture of stuff, because honestly, I mean, I've got a Cars album here someplace. So yeah, I'll see if I can pull that up. I don't remember what hard drive it's in. I think it's in this one. I'll let you guys have a look at this here in a second. Okay, computer, take much longer. But yeah, you can see the abundance of, I'll just show you some stuff here. My Impala there, my 2010, and that emblem there on the front is now black with silver around the edge because I took it apart again and cleaned it up. This is the neon that I bought for $100, and then I fixed up, made it run, and sold it. Very nice car. Very dirty inside when I got it, so couldn't live with that. So obviously, me, I took the whole thing apart everywhere. I shined her up, made her look like new again. She looked like $1,000,000 when I was done. Pretty nice car overall. No battery there at the current time and moment. I later on did purchase a battery and got this puppy going. Peeled off the crappy Chrysler emblem, put this awesome thing on there. Skulls, because it's cool. Put this on the side too, just a little cross emblem. Oh, and then here's one of the crappy cars I owned. It was a Cutlass Callias. I forget the year. I think it was an 85. Either way, absolute garbage. Had bald tires, lots of rust. Brakes were hit and miss. That window, you can see right there, that red thing sticking up, that was holding the window from falling down. It was just jammed in there. The car smelled like dirty socks. It was missing a couple panels here and there. I couldn't get the hood open from the latch, so finally I pried it open with a screwdriver, and I wish I hadn't. There was like tumbleweeds and like cobwebs and shit all over the place, and just random frayed wires unhooked from like a bunch of stuff. Nearly like got in an accident with this car. Like I said, I only paid $200 for this thing. Can't really expect much for that. I was in dire need of it after right back there I seized the motor in that beautiful Corsica. That really sucked. Harsh times, you know. But yeah, there's the front of the Cutlass, or the Corsica. It was a pretty good car. Here's what I mean about the motor, though. I mean, look at that. That thing was in beautiful shape. It's a shame that I ended up seizing the motor, because that thing was just beautiful. It ran awesome. I drove this clown car for a while. It was god awful as well. Actually, honestly, built with no power steering. A little Ford Festiva it was. My 2007 Focus that I had, which I decked it with a bunch of various things. This is the Mustang that I had. I think it was an 88 or an 89. Yeah, I did a little bit of body work on it. The Neon that I had, 97 or 98 or something like that. Bumper was broken on the front of it before I got it. Overall, pretty good little car. Yeah, there's the interior after I decked it with some chrome paint for some of the panels. Put Scully in there, of course, my skull shifter knob. There's that shit. That was the first prototype. I covered the chrome up with some black too, so I redid it. The old 82 Buick Regal. First car I ever owned, project car, very awesome car, lots of power. And there's what I meant when I had those hooked up. They had actually little tweeters in it now that I think about it. So it actually worked really well as like a full range system. I mean, like, it sounded pretty awesome just to have that in there. Yeah. I also owned this 82 Chevy S10 for a while. Only had 80,000 kilometers on it. Very nice little truck. Ran great till the heater core blew up in the cab of the truck and filled the cab with radiator fluid, so that wasn't so pleasant. There's the Corsica, very similar to this is the Tempest, sorry, the Pontiac Tempest. This is the Pontiac version of the Chevy Corsica. It's a pretty decent little car, good on gas, everything like that. Leaking power steering pump. Wrote this car off too, front end collision type thing. Yeah, hood was ripped clean off of it. That kind of really was sad too. It was a good car. 98, 99 Dodge Spirit or something like that. Chrysler, something or other. I can't remember at this moment. I think it's a Dodge Spirit. Either way, they're the same thing. Yeah, I traded this crappy freaking car back here plus $500 to get this freaking thing, which ran for 3 days, and then the motor blew up on me. So yeah, I got had by some hack job backyard mechanic who thought it would be funny to rip off some guy who doesn't have a nickel or a dime in the world to spend, pretty much, and was just like pennying his way through life. That was the under hood of the Tempest. Very nice battery, Interstate battery, isn't that something? That's a really nice battery. That's about the best thing going for it under the hood, to be honest. The Corsica way nicer under the hood. Yeah, I mean, I've owned like a lot of cars in all. I think like 15 or something. In case anybody wanted to see the small block 350, that's her. Not much to it. Yeah, that is nice and orange. I like that. But yeah, I mean, I've had my fair share of different vehicles. Get bored of one, trade it, go and get something else. Oh, I forgot to include this beauty here. This was, I owned this somewhere in between everything. This neon had fog lights and everything, and a DC emblem on the hood. Had this god-awful freaking black spoiler on it, which weighed down the trunk, so when you pushed the trunk release, the trunk wouldn't open, so you had to go back with your key, which luckily worked, and twist the key while you pulled the hood up, or the trunk up, sorry. Yeah, not a bad little car. It's pretty clean under the hood. Had 298,000 kilometers on it. That little cold air intake. I don't know what the hell this bar thing was for across here. But, I mean, overall it still ran pretty good when I sold it. So, yeah. This car, I think, had some really nice Sony head unit in it. It was like... It had USB and everything on it, and somebody before I bought it had painted the interior red, so that was pretty cool. That was kind of a interesting buying feature for me. Yeah. So, I don't really got much going on for car audio today. Drove around a little bit after work, bumped a few songs. But yeah, I just thought I'd take everybody through a little bit of history on some of the things that I've had and some of the lovely vehicles that I've dealt with in the past. Most of my cars before my 2002 Cavalier and my 2010 Impala have been under $1,000 vehicles. I mean, my 2007 Ford Focus, it was from a dealership and I traded it for the 2010 Impala, but yeah. Overall, it's fared out pretty good. I'm not sure where I'm going to go from here with my vehicles. I'm trying to trade my 2010 Impala in right now, get my interest and my payments cut down or something like that. And I'm thinking about trading my 2002 Cavalier in for a Chevy Cobalt SS model. It's got to be fully loaded, because my Cavalier is fully loaded. It's got the sunroof and still got the 5-speed manual, which I really like. The aluminum rims, fog lights. I think the SS model of a Cobalt actually has a supercharger. I think that's what the SS stands for. I'm not 100% sure. I think it's Sport Supercharged or Supercharged Sport or something like that, because there's also the LS, which is a base model, LT, a little bit up from that, and then the LTZ, which is like the luxury step up from the base model with, like, it'd have a sunroof and stuff like that, but it's, you know, I think it still has the 2.2 liter motor, and I wanted the 2.4 liter, so yeah. Either way, if anybody has any information on some of that stuff I was talking about earlier in the video, hit me up with some comments and whatnot. Subscribe, like, or whatever you guys want to do. Thumbs down, thumbs up, whatever you feel. But yeah, I'd really like to know if I can fix a couple of those things I was talking about. Actually, the stereo, that'd be great. Or the amp, just with the RCAs, figure something out with that, you know. But yeah. I'll see you guys next time I post something. Okay?